Hello, everyone. Welcome to the When at Work podcast. You're with your host, Julian Lee here. And today I'm joined by the fantastic Lindsay Hanson from just outside of Boston in the United States. Welcome to the show, Lindsay.
Thank you for having me.
And we're going to talk about a couple of things. We're going to talk about fear of judgment online, and we're talking about, how do you deal with that when you are trying to start a business online and you've got to get on the social media and make videos and all of that. And we all have that little bit of fear. And for some of us, it's a bigger barrier to overcome. And the other thing we're going to talk about is Lindsay's story, where maybe a year and a half into her career, she decided that she was going to just quit, which is very socially unacceptable, and
Yeah.
decided she was going to do something radically different, like work for herself. So welcome to the show, and tell us a little bit about your story, first of all.
Yeah, it's been a journey. So I went to school for accounting. I got my degree in accounting. I actually got my master's degree and my CPA license, which is a certified public accountant here in the States, which is not easy to do. So I went through that whole process of about 5 years. And then I started my career in 2017. And pretty much right away, hated it. Did not enjoy the work I was doing. I didn't find it fulfilling.
You didn't get
Um,
excited by profit and loss statements.
I I get excited about them now for my own business, but well, I was also doing tax accounting, so I wasn't really looking at profit and loss statements. I was doing taxes for like big companies. Um, but I knew that even if I switched to a different field within accounting, I wasn't going to enjoy the work. And there was just something in me that was like, there has to be more to life than going to a 9 to 5 and sitting at a desk and punching numbers into a computer all day. Not that there's anything wrong, like, we need accountants, they're important, but it just was not for me. And I really wanted to be doing something that I was going to find fulfilling and that I wouldn't have to dread going to work every day. I wouldn't have to look back on my life and regret not going after the thing that I knew that I wanted to do. And so it was only about a year into my job when I started thinking like, okay, I need to make a change. And so at the time, I was really passionate about fitness. I had been on my own fitness journey for a few years. And I thought maybe I really enjoy being a personal trainer and being a fitness coach and helping people reach their goals in that way. That sounds really fulfilling to me. And I also was seeing all of these coaches online that had an online business. So they were coaching their clients from anywhere in the world. They had the freedom to set their own schedule, to work when they wanted to, and I wanted that. I wanted that freedom and that fulfillment. And so I enrolled in a course to get my personal training certification. And long story short, I ended up quitting my job in December of 2018, which was a year and a half after I started. And then I launched my online coaching business, which started as fitness coaching in January of 2019. And so now it's obviously evolved into all the things I'm doing: business coaching, social media management. I have my own podcast as well. But that's kind of how it all started. And it's definitely, I think it was scary. It's not it's not a path that I would necessarily recommend you take, to just quit your job and then dive into an online business. I mean, I to be clear, had no idea how to start an online business. Like, I did not know what I was doing. The first thing I did was hire a business coach because I knew that I didn't know what I was doing. And it was a scary decision to make, but it was just a really pivotal decision for me. That I was committing to going after what I wanted and creating a more fulfilling life that I just so deeply believed was possible for me. And it was a big leap of faith and a big commitment to trusting myself that I would figure it out. And that's the short version of how I got to where I am now.
How do you feel about getting a coach early on? Did that help very much?
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine how that first launch would have gone if I hadn't had a coach, because I had no idea what I was doing, like, at all. I didn't know how to put together a program, how to price it, how to market it effectively. And so having that coach who in I had only worked with her for 6 weeks at the time, but she helped me to stay focused on like what really mattered in order to start signing clients and what I really needed to focus on. Because there's so much in the online space that you can get distracted by of like, oh, you need a website, or you need to be on this social media platform, or you need to start a podcast, or you need to do webinars, or there's so many different ways to do it, right? And I think I would have been trying to do too much, and I wouldn't have done it effectively. So I think having a coach in the beginning is really helpful to narrow your focus on what really matters for you to launch that program and market it effectively and sign on those first few clients.
Yeah, and what did it boil down to as being what the most important thing you need to be focusing on?
Sorry, there was a motorcycle driving by.
That's right.
Yeah, I think putting together my program, I think the marketing aspect of it was the most important. Like, how am I going to communicate the value of this program to the people in my audience? But actually, I think the number one thing that helped me the most was something I started doing before I got a coach. And I wasn't doing it intentionally from a marketing standpoint because that wasn't the mindset I was in. But I had started posting on Instagram about 3 months before I had quit my job. So I was still working, but I knew that I was working toward becoming a fitness coach. I knew that I was going to be launching this business in a few months. So I was like, I have my personal Instagram account. It doesn't have I had 127 followers at the time, which for some reason that number stuck in my head. And it was all just people who I knew, right? My friends, family, people that I went to school with. And I didn't really use it that much, but I was like, let me just start posting on here and just let people know that I'm going to become a fitness coach. And I would post like my workouts, I would post nutrition tips. I was just posting things that I was passionate about, and things that I knew, just tips here and there that could help people. And what I didn't realize doing was that I was nurturing that audience. I was building my brand, one, and I was warming up that audience so that 3 months later, when I did launch my first program, I wasn't launching it to a completely cold audience who was like, what even is this? I had no idea you were even a fitness coach, right? And that was huge. Because I think if I had just launched on January 1st and I hadn't been really posting all that much before then, it would have been a lot harder and taken a little bit longer for me to sign on those first few clients. But because I had spent 3 months warming that audience up, I was able to sign on 5 clients in that first month, which is kind of crazy when I had such a small audience and pretty much no idea what I was doing.
And then what did you go on and develop as far as products?
Yeah, so I was doing fitness coaching for most of the first year in my business, and that was when I actually pivoted into more of life coaching, and wanting to help women who are feeling stuck in their career. So the primary thing was coaching up until about a year ago was when I started beginning of 2020 was when I started my podcast, but at the time I wasn't thinking it would be its own like income stream at all. And then about a year ago I started doing social media management as well, so offering that service to business owners. So that's primarily what I'm doing now. I also did have a few like mini courses and training bundles, that I offered a few different times when I was doing life coaching slash business coaching, but primarily coaching and social media management. So mostly service based.
And so you're producing a lot of content. How much content are you producing each week?
It's a good question. It's definitely varied at different phases of my business. Right now, I think because of, TikTok brought up this rise of like short form video content. Everyone's following them. Instagram has Reels, YouTube has Shorts now. And I think that has allowed me to create more content because it takes me less time. And so I'm able to most of my content creation now is I'll record something on TikTok and then I'll just repurpose it everywhere. So I'll post it on Instagram as a reel, I'll post it on Pinterest as an idea pin. So it doesn't take me a ton of time. I probably post a few TikToks a week, and then I also am posting pretty much every day, Monday through Friday on Instagram, and that's mostly to repurpose my TikToks and promote my podcast. So Instagram and TikTok are the main things for me right now. And then I also do have my email list that I send out 1 or 2 emails a week. But that's
And how
mainly
long have you, so you've been on your podcast since 2020, and how long did that take you until you realized that the podcast itself was a good marketing tool?
Really only a couple months. So I was getting really good feedback on it and people reaching out and messaging me and saying how much the podcast resonates with them and they're feeling the same way and they're stuck in their job and looking for a way out. And it kind of just organically started to bring in coaching clients. People would be applying to work with me or messaging me and asking how they can work with me. And so it was only a few months into it where I was like, oh, this is a really powerful marketing tool. And so from there I just kind of doubled down on that, and I would talk more about my coaching. I would share some of the conversations that I would have with my clients, and some of the results that they were seeing, and it just became a little bit more intentional that I was promoting my coaching program on the podcast, but it was a very natural and kind of organic progression, which I love because it was just I started it because I wanted to share my story. I wanted to share my journey and what had worked for me and some of the mindset shifts that I was able to make to get to where I am. And people just really, I think, felt heard and felt validated by it because I was sharing exactly what I had gone through, and that's exactly where they were currently going through. And so it just became a really powerful marketing tool pretty quickly.
Awesome. And so you've got some courses, and you've got like an intro course that people do on your course on your website. Sorry, what's that? What's that all about?
Yeah, so I call it the Business Builder Bundle. So that's the main course that I have on there now. And it's really to help you land those first few clients. So going from where I was, where I had no idea what I was doing when it came to starting an online business, I didn't have a big audience, I didn't have an email list, I didn't have a website, right? Without needing all of those things, what are those core things that you need to focus on? So it's really like we were talking about coaching earlier, right? Helping you narrow your focus on almost what is that fastest path to landing that first client. So it's a very foundational course that walks you through, okay, how do you figure out your niche? How do you put together your first program? How do you price it? How do you market it effectively? What's your social media marketing strategy going to look like? And it walks you through those necessary steps you need to take to really just get your business off the ground, without having a ton of money to spend on marketing or without having a huge audience or an email list or any of those things.
Awesome. And I like you've got a sales course as well. Like selling doesn't have to feel sleazy. That looks really,
Yeah.
really good because I know a lot of people wonder, how are they going to actually sell?
Yeah, that's kind of a mini course that I have on there too. It's called Sell Without Selling. So that was such a big pain point, honestly, for me that I had to overcome was that mindset around selling and around feeling like I was asking for people's money and taking people's money and viewing selling as something negative was a big shift that I had to make. And it's something that comes up for every single one of my clients, I think, especially for women. We don't feel comfortable talking about money and we don't feel comfortable in that sales role because I think it's seen as this traditional, like, male aggressive sort of, like, you think of a car salesman or people in the mall who are coming up to you and trying to sell you things. But I think as a woman, as a female entrepreneur, as a service provider, our hearts are so service centered. And I think selling can be something that is just an extension of our service. And it's just a matter of changing the way that we're really viewing it so that
Oh,
it
mate,
doesn't
I mean,
feel,
that's the best type of selling, is that
yeah,
service based, and that's why I think women are natural salespeople, and the best at it, because they naturally default to, how do I help this person? How do I provide massive value? And
yeah, we're
men have
really
to work
good.
that out. They have to work that
Yeah,
out.
we're really good listeners naturally. We are tend to be more empathetic, which are all so key when it comes to selling effectively. And so I think it's just a matter of changing that perspective of what selling is so that we can feel comfortable in that role.
Yeah, and that's the way it's done now. So that's the best way to do it, I think. And what's the first port of call for people that want to get into Lindsay Hanson's world? What do
Yeah,
you
so
recommend?
oh, you mean the first like
You,
which
yeah,
product to
like
go
what
to?
course, or do you have a group or a strategy call, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I would honestly say to start with my podcast, because that'll give you a really good sense of who I am, my personality, my energy, my journey, and how I work with my clients. And then from there, if you want to go deeper, my website is lindsayhanson.com. And that's where you can find those training bundles and the business builder bundle course, and also my coaching page. So if you're interested in coaching, you can apply, and then we'll get on a discovery call and see if it's a good fit.
Awesome. Well, I think there's a lot of good stuff there, and I think a lot of people would really identify with you, Lindsay. And
Yeah.
thanks for coming on. Some great info there. Head over to lindsayhanson.com and have a look at what Lindsay's doing. She's got some great stuff on her website, the way it's all set out, and the courses and everything. And there's tons of value and freebies and stuff, as well as the podcast.
Hmm.
Thanks for coming on, Lindsay.
Thanks, Julian. It was great to be here.
No worries, short and sweet. That's how we do it. Thanks for listening and watching, and I'll see you on another episode very soon.